How are you? Yes, but you were in July and I was in. Right. Then after that, like. That's down the street. Yes. So, yeah. No. They send one out for their. Oh. Seriously. What things last year? Yeah. So they said this is. And how, you know, they always said, but
Good evening. Let's call this meeting to order. First, we'll have the local planning agency and ask for a roll call.
Mayor Weinberg,
Here.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Here.
Commissioner Bloom. Here. Commissioner Freeland,
Present.
Commissioner Cruz,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Marks.
Here.
Commissioner Stern.
Here.
Mr. Wasson.
Here.
And Mr. Myers. You have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask Stu Katz to honor us by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a moment of personal privilege that the gentleman that led us in the pledge, when I was 7 years old, my parents sent me away for a month to some sleepaway camp run by the New Haven JCC. Stu Katz also went the same summer as a 7-year-old. I went for 9 summers, made me the man I am today. Stu has put more than 50 years of his life, his heart and soul into that camp, which still exists and still thrives in large part because of people like him. And it's also a new Florida resident. So I welcome you, Stu. Thank you. Item 3, approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion for approval, please? Made by Commissioner Bloom. Can I have a second? Commissioner Freeland. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item is a public hearing, the motion recommending adoption of ordinances, and I would ask the clerk to read this ordinance 4A.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Section 31-144, business zoning districts of the city's land development regulations to include restaurant, cafe, or coffee house with a drive-through as a conditional use in the community business B2 district, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion recommending adoption, please? Commissioner Freeland. Can I have a second? Commissioner Cruz. Community Development Director Kevin Klopp, would you like to run through this?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we have a presentation up on the screen. And just as a introduction, I'd like to make a few comments about what you are doing this evening as a local planning agency rather than the city commission. We have a few new members on the commission. So I just wanted to spend a moment doing that before we get into the agenda items. Here you have bullets. We'll do this brief introduction, then we'll get to the drive-through restaurant item that you just brought up. So the local planning agency is required by Florida statutes. It's an agency that a community must create, and it has to do 2 things: adopt and amend its comprehensive plan for the city, and adopt and amend the land development regulations for the city. The land development regulations are the specific zoning requirements. They are made up of 1 chapter of the code, chapter 31, which is a very large chapter about land development. So that's 2 requirements the state puts upon you as a land planning agency. Has to be separate from the city commission, but the statute does allow for the city commission to appoint itself as the land planning agency. There's other things that the LPA or land planning agency has to do according to our own city code, and those are listed here: rezonings, conditional use approvals, variances, plats, and development agreements. So those things will always be on an agenda of the LPA before they can go to the city commission. Okay. And then there are 2 types of hearings that the LPA will have. You've probably heard the term quasi judicial. That's when you're sitting somewhat as a judicial body rather than a legislative body, because you're deciding the rights of a certain property owner. Certain proceedings are required for a quasi judicial hearing. And then there's legislative items where you are sitting in a similar fashion as a recommending body to the city commission, deciding broader things, things that don't just affect one property, but numerous properties or potentially the whole city. So that's the basic layout of the LPA and why you are having a separate meeting of the LPA before you have a commission meeting. Okay, now to the item that the city clerk read into the record. This changes the land development regulations, that chapter that I just mentioned, chapter 31, by approving to include restaurant, cafe, or coffee house with a drive-through as a conditional use in the B2 district. Now, in your capacity right now, you would be recommending that to the city commission, and it'll be on the city commission's agenda later this evening. I do want to point out just one thing. Conditional use means that a drive-through would have to come to you for approval. It doesn't add it in as of right. It means they have the right to come and ask you on a one-by-one basis if you want to allow that drive-through to come into the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions about this item.
Any questions from any commissioners? If not, I'll open it up for public comment. Any questions on this issue from the public? If not, we'll close the item for public comment. And I'll ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to 4B, if the clerk could read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Section 31-233, Architectural Design Standards of the City of Aventura Code of Ordinances to adopt a primary color palette applicable to the exterior surfaces of any multifamily, townhouse, or non-residential building, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion recommending approval? Commissioner Friedland? Can I have a second? Commissioner Bloom? You go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. This also is a change of the land development regulations, chapter 31. One slight difference I want to point out between this and the previous item. The previous item changed the list of permitted uses or conditional uses. That has a certain stature under Florida laws, whereas the color palette doesn't change the uses. It's just a design standard, which is less of a concern to the state. There's less public hearing and notice requirements on that. Just pointing that out. But this item would, as you have heard at workshop, adopt a color palette for multifamily and commercial buildings in the city. That palette is now up on our website if people would want to see that. We did have one question about it. The question was answered easily. And we think this will be a very easy thing to administer to require the colors that individuals use on their buildings be within the very broad palette that we've presented. Happy to answer any questions about it.
Questions from the commission? We've discussed this many times, so I think no questions. I'll open it up for public comment. Any questions or comments from the public on this issue? Please come up and state your name and address.
Marcel Fischler, 3370 Northeast 190th Street. I'm wondering why you want to do this. I think that a color palette limits the imagination. We don't want to look like Prague before the Berlin Wall came down. We don't want to look like a Soviet bloc when everything is white and gray and very boring. And I don't understand why you want to do that. That's my question, number one. And number two, although I did hear secondhand that you were okay with it, I live in Hidden Bay, as you do. The building is Carl. There are no corals on the palette whatsoever. There are no bright colors on the palette. I don't know if condominium falls under multifamily use, but I don't see why the city should have jurisdiction over what color a building is painted.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Kevin, you want to address Hidden Bay in particular?
Yes, thank you. That is the one question that we did receive. I received a call the other day asking if the color of Hidden Bay was approved. And what I was told is that the color isn't changing. And this ordinance does not have a retroactive portion to it. So it is assumed to be fine. If Hidden Bay were to change the color, then you would have to come and ask for approval of that color. Also, we believe there is a similar enough color. It may not be called coral, but there is a very broad array of colors, and there are pinks in the array, where I believe what you have on Hidden Bay currently is not a intense hue, which is really what we're aiming at, is to eliminate real intense abrasive colors. So I have assured those that have asked about Hidden Bay that it's not a problem under this ordinance.
Thank you very much. And just one question, to your knowledge, most municipalities have a color palette of some sort, is that correct?
Numerous municipalities have a color palette, yes. I don't know if I would be able to say most, but numerous, certainly.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public? If not, we'll close it for public comment, and we have a commission question. Oh, look at that. The buttons are working. Commissioner Stern, you're first, and then Dr. Marks.
I think it's important to know also, if there's a color that's not on the palette, you can actually request that color, come to the commission. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on the palette. It could be off the palette, and the commission has a right to approve it.
Commissioner, Dr. Marks.
Kevin, I'm not sure I heard you correctly, so I'm going to ask the question just for clarification. It was my understanding at the workshop meeting that there was a conversation about numerous buildings that were of colors that were outside the color palette. And I was under the impression, or well, I heard you say that all the buildings need to paint within a 10-year period anyway, so that any of these other buildings that might currently not conform within the 10-year period would then have to conform. Now, I don't think I heard you say that tonight, so please clarify.
So what we would do is, in those cases where there is a color that does not meet the intent of the color palette, that is an intense orange or an intense green, at that time that they're repainting, we would require the color palette to be imposed. Hidden Bay is not subject of concern or complaint. It is not a intense hue. So we don't believe there's a retroactive requirement that if they're using that color, they come back and have it approved again. So it will take some judgment. I've already opened the discussions with those commercial buildings. And there's also the difference between a commercial building and a residential building. Those commercial buildings that are deemed to have intense colors, I've already opened the discussions with them and let them know that their colors will be changing.
Is there language in this item that allows for someone to come forward to request
An appeal?
an appeal or whatever you, because that was not discussed at the workshop. So is there some language here?
There
that
is language
included?
for them to request an appeal, certainly.
Okay, and who would decide on the appeal? Is that the commission or your department?
The city commission.
Be the commission.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, let's close for comment and have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5. This is going to be quasi judicial, so I'll ask the city attorney to provide the procedures for quasi judicial hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Please be advised that the following item on the agenda is quasi judicial in nature. If you wish to object or comment upon the item, please inform the mayor when public comments are requested. An opportunity for persons to speak on the item will be made available after the applicant's staff have made their presentations on the item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you refuse either to be cross-examined or to be sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the commission ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak to the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the city clerk.
Thank you. And I'll ask the clerk to swear in all those wishing to offer testimony.
If you will be speaking on this item, I need you to stand up and raise your right hand and be sworn in at this time. If you will be speaking on this item, item 5, do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Please read the resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, approving a sign variance from Section 31-191 J2D of the city's land development regulations to permit a third wall sign on the northeast elevation where only 2 wall signs are allowed by code. Approving an outdoor lighting variance from Section 31-234E of the city's land development regulations for the addition of exterior lighting on the southwest and northeast elevations located and mounted at 80 feet above grade, where heights no greater than 30 feet are allowed by code, on the Aventura Hilton located at 2885 Northeast 191 Street, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion recommending adoption, please? Commissioner Cruz. And a second? Commissioner Bloom. Kevin, can you review this, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you heard the clerk read, the address is 2885 Northeast 191 Street. We're all familiar, almost our neighbor to the east, the Hilton Hotel. And has asked for these 2 variances. The item was properly noticed with a posting, a mailing, and with a notice in the newspaper. The standards for review are set out in the code. I'm going to read them. The variance must maintain the basic intent and purpose of the regulations, particularly as it affects the stability and appearance of the city, and provided that the variance will be otherwise compatible with the surrounding land uses and would not be detrimental to the community. This is the standard for signage and similar type variances. There are other standards for variances such as setbacks, height, etc., where a hardship must be proved by the applicant. In this case, the code specifically says they don't have to prove a hardship. They just have to request it, and you all have to decide that it meets these standards. And so they have asked for these variances, and I will show you. Specifically, this is the elevation of the Hilton that faces the Lehman Causeway. Right now, it has no signage on it. They have reached their limit of the number of signs they can put on the building. So they're asking for a variance so they can put 1 more sign. So they would have visibility of the Hilton sign to the Lehman Causeway. And they're also asking for permission to put accent lighting on the building that's higher than the code allows. Currently, the code allows accent lighting down in the pedestrian realm, first and second floors. But once you get on the upper floors of the building, the code says there shall be no accent lighting. So they're asking to do that as you see here. Staff has reviewed. Staff recommends that you make a recommendation to the city commission to approve this. If you believe it follows these standards, we do not see that it is incompatible or detrimental to the community. And would suggest approval. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know there are some other speakers that were sworn in.
Questions from the commission? Okay. Does the applicant want to make any comment?
Good evening, George Sapero, Prime Group, here to speak for the hotel, the signage and the exterior lighting. Good evening, thanks for hearing us out. The hotel is unfortunately in an odd angle to the rest of the grid of the city, and it's behind other buildings that are covering it. So the existing signage, of course, is visible from the south, southwest, the US 1 areas, but there's no signage on Lehman Causeway. So we feel it's very important to allow people that are on the causeway to know our presence there. A lot of the visitors to the hotel, when they're first arriving here from, say, Fort Lauderdale Airport, they'll take the scenic route along the beach and come down Lehman Causeway, and would like to be able to identify the hotel right away. So that would help. On the exterior lighting, it's meant to accentuate the very nice architecture of the building. If you imagine, by the way, when we first proposed the lighting, it had lighting on the lower levels. The city was concerned about being a nuisance to the neighbors, so we removed that, even though it doesn't really affect neighbors. Because if you imagine a light bulb, when you turn it on, it's radiating light towards you and hitting you in the eye. That's what you're seeing. And if you imagine the closest thing to the situation may be a neon sign that is a light bulb, and it's radiating light towards your eyes. And, you know, if it's too bright, it may bother you. That's not the case here. These lights are directional lightings that project a beam of light on the building surface. So it never points outward. It's not a light bulb. The lines that you see on the drawings is not a continuous fixture or set of fixtures that are emanating lights towards you. It is fixtures that are shooting off a beam towards the building face and give you the illusion of that line. It's projecting like a projector. It's putting a light on a wall. So if you're standing behind the projector, on the side of the projector, it's never hitting you in the eye. So it's very low nuisance. It can't possibly bother neighbors or anybody else. And if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you. I don't see any questions from the commission, so let me open it up for public comment. Any comment from any members of the public?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Mickey Morero from the law firm of Burke, Cowberdell, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapenis. With me today is Bill Gorman from Turnberry, the head of the Select Hotel Division. I actually, just a little bit of background, you guys normally see me here on behalf of items. I got a text from one of my folks at Turnberry late last night that there was an item on the commission agenda they were concerned about. Over the last few hours, I just got to understanding what it was. I spoke to Kevin. I understand notice was sent. They did not receive it. They did not know about this item. And even though their Marriott Courtyard property is mentioned in the letter of intent, nobody reached out to them and explained the situation. I had a brief conversation with the applicants outside, and I spoke to Kevin briefly. I believe that there's at least an attempt to have minimize the impact of this lighting to neighboring properties. We are the abutting property owner and have 63 of our units that face where this lighting would be. I hear what they're saying. It may very well be the case. Our team has not had a chance to look at a photometric study. I didn't see that in the agenda. And there's a real concern that being so close to proximity to our building is going to have a negative impact. All that we're asking at this time, since we weren't aware of this item, our client wasn't aware of this item for less than 24 hours ago, is that you all consider continuing this to next month, to give us an opportunity to meet with Kevin, to review the photometrics, to have our engineers take a look at the item. And it very well may be that what they're saying is true and there is no impact to our property, we have no problem. That's what I would hope to be the case. But unfortunately, we have not had a chance to review it, and our client is extremely concerned. And one of the criteria is impact to the community and detrimental to the community. And I think our hotel has been there for many, many years, and we believe there's at least a chance it could be very detrimental to the quality of life of our guests at the hotel. So all we would ask is humbly that you all consider continuing this item just 1 month, really 4 weeks, and that would give us enough time to review the item, meet with our experts, and hopefully we have no concerns. But right now, we are not comfortable and we don't have enough information to be okay with this. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. I don't know, Bill, if you have anything else you want to
Nope,
share.
I think you pretty much said it, very clear. Just a little time.
Thank you, Commissioner Stern.
Are you asking for the sign and the lighting or just the lighting?
The primary concern is that we haven't been able to review any of this application and nobody came to us. So, but my primary concern is the lighting. That I
Because
can
the
tell you.
sign, I don't think is going to be a detriment. And I believe the sign should go forward because I know a lot of people don't know where to find the hotel. So I think the sign should go forward. I don't know if you could separate the two, but that would be my suggestion, if you can.
And to answer your question, the lighting is our primary concern. That's the one thing we know we have a concern about, yes.
Any thoughts from any other commissioners? City manager?
Mayor or Kevin could answer this. You're only concerned about one side that faces your property?
Correct.
The lighting variance is 2 sides. So that could be split also. Would that be agreeable?
Yeah, the concern from us is just the lighting that affects our building. I understand the way he explained it. If that's the case and our experts agree, maybe we have no objection. I'm not equipped to answer that right now.
Okay, I think the applicant wants to say something, but let me just ask the question quickly. So I know you said 1 month, but what is the process that your experts will go through? Why is it a month?
Well, there's the next meeting. I mean, if y'all met next week, we could consider, but I
So-
need to have an expert.
Just putting out there,
Lighting.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but on February 23rd, we have a workshop. Okay, to the extent that this commission want to entertain a short continuance, we could have a special commission meeting right before that workshop, the 23rd of this month, in order to complete this process, if it's the commission's will. If you could satisfy yourself between now and then, that's why I'm asking.
We could certainly try. We can, okay. Yeah, we just need an expert to look at it and hopefully if they provide us with photometrics of the impact of the lighting, if that's enough time and, we're okay with that. I just, certainly a day was not enough.
Okay, yeah, applicant, you want to comment, please?
Yeah, thank you. First, I want to emphasize that, as has been mentioned, the importance of the sign and even the lighting. We're going to high season right now, and we need to get working on setting this up as quickly as possible. So the signage on the northeast side and the lighting on the northeast side have nothing to do, obviously, with our neighbors to the west. But even the sign, the lighting on the southwest, it really doesn't have anything to them. The lighting is on the 9th floor, guys. Like I said, it's a projector. It shines light on the wall. There's no photometrics. It's impossible for a light that's pointing to the wall to spillage over to the other side. It's completely unnecessary. We can, if we can please have an approval today, we can, on the southwest side, give our neighbors a couple of weeks to discuss with us and bring their concerns to us, and we can, bring peace to their fears. That could very well be a 2-week process. If it has to be a little longer, that's fine. But I think this is more of a technical aspect. The light is either going to be a light pollution problem, or it's not. We can provide the technical information on the lighting, so they're okay with it. But we would appreciate an approval today, and then maybe have staff look at the lighting information that we provide. But there's no need for a photometric, for a light that's pointing on the wall only.
Commissioner Friedland.
So I actually have two questions. One, I'd like to know what kind of notification we did provide to the community, or to what our responsibility is. And the second question is, can we separate and approve the signage today that there's no objection to? And because it'll take time to get the signage built and put up anyways, and then the lighting can come later? Or would the applicant have no need for a sign if it couldn't be lit, and therefore one is tied to the other? So I think I need someone from the city, possibly, who can tell us a little bit about the notification first.
Sure. The notification followed the code, which was a posting on the property, a notice in the newspaper, and a notice sent to the surrounding properties. And we did check the address for the hotel, owner of the hotel was one of the addresses to which we sent a notice. And I believe the notices went out in late January 26th or so.
So that would have been prior to our commission workshop when this was discussed?
I believe it was just after the commission workshop. As far as the separating the two variances, I believe we could accomplish that. We could accomplish putting conditions on the approval. I did have a recommendation of my own that I can read to you all, which would be that a permit for the lighting proposed on the southwest facade would not be issued by our department prior to either a written indication from the neighbor that they have no objection, or the city commission approving a subsequent resolution removing this condition of approval. So there'd be a condition they can't do it without no objection, or at some future meeting, the next commission meeting, you could approve the southwest as well.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
one option.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So, and the first thing I did was I reached out to Kevin when I heard about the concern, and I said, what happened? Was there notice? I had our team at Turnberry reach out to the registered agent, reach out to every assistant. Nobody saw this notice. I'm sure it went out. And usually I'm on the other side of these things, and I know how this works. And Turnberry has come to me with many notices. We've represented them for 25 years. This is the first time that they didn't see something. So this is a community partner that's been here for a long time, that has participated for a long time. And frankly, this is the first time that I've had this issue with them. Nevertheless, whether it went out or not, they did not know about it. They did not get it. I'm fine with the condition Kevin has proposed. I think it's reasonable. That way, we can, if we are comfortable and they provide us with the data sooner, they can get the permit sooner. If not, it's before you at the next meeting. So you have an opportunity to remedy it one way or the other. We would have no objection to keeping not just the sign, but the lighting on the other side. But frankly, I've heard no lighting expert testify. I just don't have enough information to say that I can speak for them and say we're comfortable with it. If what they're saying is correct, this will be a moot point. But I really would like, the opportunity to have to review the stuff, have their experts review it. This could be done relatively quickly, but that's all that we're asking. I think it's a reasonable request. Thank you.
Applicant, if you could also indicate what you think about the Kevin's suggestion.
Yes, sir. First, let me address the commissioner's question on the lighting. The lighting is important for a similar reason as the signage. It helps identify the building, and the lighting on the southwest side. Remember, the Hilton's kind of squeezed between two buildings, so it helps locate and point out the building when you're driving down the road. So the lighting is very important. We could agree to Kevin's proposed condition. Perhaps include a time limit there for automatically approval if the neighbor never withdraws their objection within, say 3 weeks. The issue goes away and permits on that side follow. Of course, the sign in the north and the lighting in the north would be able to proceed immediately. And just clarification, the lighting will be on all the time in evening hours. But we would agree to condition it to have them become satisfied over a period of 3 weeks, at which time either they withdraw their objection or before, or it automatically expires. And if not, then we'll come back to city council, and if they have a legitimate excuse, objection, and said objection should be code-based objections, not something subjective that I just don't like it, or in my opinion. You got to be able to show, hey, this light bill is hitting me right in the eye when I try to go to bed in the second floor, from the 9th floor of the hotel. So, any question?
Thank you. Anyone else? Robert, city attorney?
Yeah, thank you. So to pick up on Kevin's conditions, and it appears that both parties agree to them, but there was one thing that was stated by Kevin and the mayor when you talked about bringing this up at a special commission meeting. So I believe the conditions would be that it would be reviewed at the next regularly scheduled commission meeting. And my question, because the applicant was speaking about 3 weeks, that would take us beyond the special commission meeting. So I guess the point that I'd like to see clarified in the motion is whether or not, if you agree to the conditions that both parties seem to be willing to accept, is this supposed to be done by the special commission meeting, which would be set for the 23rd of this month, or the next regular commission meeting, which is March 7th?
Personally, I would like it to be resolved. I don't see any reason why it couldn't be on February 23rd, which is the next time we meet. I think that's more than reasonable. They didn't get notice, they claim, and so now they have notice. They can jump on it.
But if I can jump in, what I was understanding is that the coming to another hearing will only be necessary if the neighbor doesn't withdraw their application or has some legitimate complaint that can't resolve with us. Then we would come before city council to request that their right to object be removed, and then just either be approved or denied in place. So what we're asking for now is for an approval conditioned on, if we work it out, then we proceed to permits and we don't have to come back. Everybody's happy.
That's the way that I would perceive it as well. So we would have to amend this motion in order to create that language.
Yeah, let me just be clear that what we're speaking about is not that the applicant has to reappear. It's just that the deadline would be the 23rd, or it will be March 7th, if you accept those conditions.
Right, the applicant would not have to reappear unless there was an objection by the neighbor at that time. If there's nothing, then the permit
It's conditionally approved.
Right.
I mean, so in effect, it's approved, subject to some objection.
Right, that's the way I perceive it, and I think that's what Kevin's conditional approval was. Yes.
I just want to, and again, just to clarify, it's a unique condition. And since I haven't, and certainly my client hasn't had the opportunity to review what I would normally consider a photometric study for things like this. And if the photometric study says there's zero impact, then it's an easy discussion. But we haven't had an opportunity to review anything. So we're relying on obtaining some, whether it's from the city or from the applicant. So while I'm hopeful that we can be comfortable by the 23rd, I don't want our rights to have an issue here automatically go away. If we are able to be satisfied prior to that next meeting, we'll obviously advise the city formally and the issue goes away. However, if we find that either we haven't been provided with the information or the information is in fact detrimental, again, I just don't know. I want to have an opportunity at that meeting to address it, because right now I don't have enough to know, and the package is a little bit light on science. So I'm happy with the condition. I think it gives us time, but I'm not the only one I'm relying on people giving me information. So if that happens, great, but I don't want our ability to have some say in this automatically disappear if we haven't gotten the information. That's all. Thank you.
If they feel like there's still an issue in a month, we can all come right back here and have that discussion. So,
I'm sure we'll see them.
yeah, that's not.
Neighbor, if in fact you don't have the information you need, we'll know about that pretty quickly. So I'm sure you'll provide them with everything.
We can provide them with everything, but I want to be clear also that there's no burden here for us to take extraordinary measures like doing a photometric that's not necessary for light fixtures that shine a light on the wall. If they feel it's important and they want to prove to us that this kind of lighting is a problem, then it's something they need to take on. It shouldn't be on us. I have one more thing. And just to be clear that we're only subjecting the southwest portion to the condition, the northwest sign and lighting would be able to proceed immediately to permits.
That's what my understanding is of the discussion. Who was the motion maker?
Commissioner Cruz and seconded by Commissioner Bloom.
So City Attorney, Commissioner Cruz would have to amend his motion, right, to be the conditional approval that was just discussed.
Correct.
Okay, does anyone want to take a whack at that language?
Yeah, one other thing that the applicant just said that I just want to bring to the attention of the commission, that to the extent to which there is an objection, you would have to hear the objection. I don't think we can limit the scope of the objection. You know, you've got to, entertain it and then make a decision based on the objection.
Understood. In the meantime, though, they can get started with 2/3 of the project. Mr. City Attorney, do you want to clarify the?
Yeah, I mean, essentially
Language
what
of
you're
the new
doing
motion.
is, it's really three parts to this. Two sides and a sign. So 2/3 of it, you're approving tonight. The 1/3, which is that one, the lighting on that was the southwest.
Southwest.
Yeah, that's the one that's subject to the condition.
Oh, do you think we should do it in two motions?
Oh, one's fine. You could do it in
Okay.
one.
So craft the language.
Oh, I think I just did.
Does everyone understand the motion? Does everyone understand the motion?
I didn't hear the clarification of the 23rd of the 7th.
I didn't either, actually.
I think we would want till the 7th myself. I think the 23rd would be even a burden on staff to be able to
So you prefer
prefer,
the March
seventh.
regular commission meeting?
yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Cruz has to approve the amended motion.
I approve.
And do I ask for a new second?
Oh, you can just ask the person who seconded it if they're willing to.
Who seconded it?
Commissioner Bloom.
Commissioner Bloom, do you second the new motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so hearing no more discussion, let's close it and let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I believe mercifully, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the LPA. By Commissioner Bloom and a second. Commissioner Cruz, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can't hear you. We're adjourned. Now we'll call to order the regular commission meeting. And I have a roll call. Is everyone still here?
Mayor Weinberg,
Here.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Here.
Commissioner Bloom.
Here.
Commissioner Friedland,
Present.
Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Marks.
Here.
Commissioner Stern.
Here.
Mr. Wasson.
Here.
And Mr. Myers. You have a quorum.
Thank you. We've already done the pledge. Let me ask the manager if there's any deletions or additions to the agenda.
Yes, Mayor, I have no deletions. I do have one addition. It's to add to other business. This is a waiver granting, the commission to grant a waiver to allow travel-related expenses incurred by the mayor to tour other school sites located in Florida. This was due to timing and future travel expectations.
Okay, so we'll hear that later. And just to be clear, that is for Charter Schools USA, our vendor, to cover the expenses, not for any taxpayer expenses.
Yes.
But it's a good example of always, anytime you have a question, ask the city attorney. Very glad that I asked him. Okay, so we'll start with special presentations. Mr. Manager, you have one?
Actually, I'm going to ask
Oh, the first one we'll do is with,
our police chief to come up and
thank you.
recognize two individuals who got involved, as we say, good Samaritans that went above and beyond.
Good evening. I hope everybody can hear me. Commissioners, Mayor, City Manager, thank you. for Giving me the opportunity to recognize two of our citizens here in Aventura that went out of their way. On January 11th, we had an individual who unfortunately mistook reverse for forward and ended up going into the waterway. Luckily, she was able to extricate herself from the vehicle safely. But once in the water, it's not exactly very easy to make your way out. We don't know if they're injured or not. And making your way up the bank is not as easy as you would think. It's not typically used. It's very slippery and it's not made for people to get in and out of the water. When the vehicle went in and she was able to get out of the water, she was able to swim away from the vehicle, but two citizens who happened to be in the area, Mr. Yadel Sabelas and Mr. Johns McGlory, were working in the area. They worked at the Flamenco Tower 1 and did not waste any time in rendering aid by jumping in the water, swimming out to the individual that was in the vehicle or outside of the vehicle now, helping her to the bank. And then once they got there, working together with other people who started to show up in pulling her out safely and then getting themselves out safely. For anybody who's been in a situation like that or seen one like that, it takes a lot of guts, or as we would say in Aventura, chutzpah, to jump in the water and save somebody that you don't know. And they did it. They didn't hold back. They were more concerned for her safety rather than theirs. And tonight, we're going to be thanking them for being that kind of person. And we need more people like that around. And we're just glad that they're part of our city. And if they're here tonight, which I believe they are, we have a special recognition award from the city to them. It says presented to, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Yadiel Sabelas and Johns McGlure, in recognition of your heroic actions and dedication to the safety and welfare of those in the Aventura community. The City Commission of the City of Aventura applauds your proactive response in going above and beyond and helping to save a life.
One second. You come up if you want to be in the picture. Thank you very much for your bravery.
Oh, thank you. Oh. You want polyester in there?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to invite Mary Smith to join me up here. While she's coming up, we're recognizing Mary's 20 years of service with Aventura Police Department in our Records Division. That's a career for most people, but that's really just your second career. Mary started in government service 30 years ago, approximately. She's 1971. She was a fire rescue dispatcher for Miami-Dade County. She did that for 25 years. She took a short break to work for the School Board of Education in Miami-Dade. Take it easy, probably. And then she decided to join the best police department in Florida, the Aventura Police Department, where you started off as a dispatcher. And she tried it and then found her place in the records department. Mary's been married for 40 years to Jim, have 2 adult sons who are very successful. And the only thing you hear about Mary is she's such a nice person, great person to work with, and very quiet. You barely see her in the records department back there. And we're just very happy that you've given us 20 years, and I hope you can, I don't know if you're going to give us 20 more, but you have to discuss that with your husband.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ron. Actually, let me say, first of all, happy birthday to Marge Rosenblatt. And we actually have one more. I have a proclamation here. Please indulge me while I read it. Whereas Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks is a longtime resident of the city of Aventura, a well-respected educator, and an integral part of the Aventura City Commission. And whereas throughout her life and numerous achievements, Commissioner Dr. Marks has always aspired to become a bat mitzvah, to expand her religious study and confirm her commitment to the Jewish community. And whereas the process to become a bat mitzvah was not previously available to Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks as a woman in her early teens. And whereas on February 4th, 2023, following extensive studying and preparation, Linda was surrounded by family and friends at her bat mitzvah ceremony at the Beth Torah Bnei Rock campus. And whereas the city of Aventura would like to recognize and congratulate Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks on this momentous occasion, an amazing accomplishment after so many years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Howard S. Weinberg, as mayor, and on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, do hereby proclaim February 7th, 2023 as, everybody, Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks Day. Congratulations. Works.
Always right.
And the clerk and the city commission. Commissioner Cruz.
I just want to say that I had the privilege of being at the synagogue at Beth Torah when our commissioner, Dr. Marks, went up there, and it really takes a lot of work. When you're young, when you're a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, everything seems easy, but
After you're a few years older than that, it's not an easy undertaking, and she did it with such elegance and grace, and she had to study hard and really put a lot of effort into this, along with 3 other very important community leaders that did it together with her. And I just want to say how proud we are of you, Commissioner Dr. Marks, and we know how much effort it took, but you always do things for the right reasons, and you deserve this accolade.
Okay. Time for some school updates. ACES, Dr. Tricala.
All right, good evening, everyone. So let me just start, and I know Jeff echoes this with gratitude to this commission and previous commissions. On behalf of our teachers, we had the privilege of sharing the news with them about the referendum settlement and the upcoming payments they're going to be receiving. And they'll be receiving a beautiful letter from you as well as that comes. But to a person, they want to know, who do I thank for this? We're really fortunate to be in a city that supports teachers at this level, and they really do understand the undertaking it was several years ago to make sure that they did get what was coming to them. And then you impacted all the charter schools in Miami-Dade as well. So on behalf of all of them, thank you guys for supporting all that we do, ACES and at Don Sofer as well. We're currently in open enrollment season right now. Our application window ends on the 11th of this month. Around the 24th, the lottery will occur, and on the 25th, all families will see in the portal where they are on the wait list or whether they received a seat. And we immediately start the residency verification process and getting everyone ready, especially our kindergartners, for next year. So we're heavy in that process right now. Today, I was joined by Jeff for most of the day, working with our sister schools in Miami-Dade and Broward, where all of the principals and assistant principals and several school leaders came together to look at our mid-year dashboards, where we are right now compared to where we thought we would be, considering state testing and really strategically planning with each other what's working for you and what are we doing, and trying to work together to build partnerships. We work very closely with the kindergarten through 5th grade school in Doral and the 6th through 8th grade school in Coral Springs, who have very similar demographics and support. And so we really work with them to make sure we're focusing on our strategic priorities. Speaking of that, tutoring is expanding as we move into the second half of the year, whether it's after school, online, or in person, or Saturday. All students have access not only for remediation, but also for those who are ready to accelerate their learning and possibly move forward for next year as well. And so through federal grant dollars, we're able to make that pretty much 100% universally available to all students, regardless of their experience. Cambridge, as you know, is a big focus for us, and we'll have a Global Perspectives Day where every student on our campus will stop their traditional learning and focus on a service project. And so all grades will have a project dedicated to them. This is our second time doing it, and starting this Thursday, our teachers will be planning for that day so that we can have a full day of learning and experience for our students. Robotics, our team continues to grow in their capacity. We have a strong partnership with Code Ninjas, a local business who actually comes on campus to teach our students every day, and they run our robotics team. We just had our second win. We had 3rd place for our 8th grade group in our robotics competition, and we're going to continue to grow in that area. Overall, we're very proud of our staff, our students, and our families for their commitment to excellence as we move into the second half of the year and just prepare for a strong end, understanding that standards changed in math and language arts for the entire school this year. There's a new testing system this year, and everyone's really just taking it in stride, and we're showing a lot of growth as a school. Really looking forward to continuing to drive that. Thank you. I'll answer any questions if you happen to have any.
Any questions? Commissioner Freeland.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. I was recently on campus, and even though Dr. Tricala was in a different meeting, his staff handled a Student of the Month events incredibly well and professionally, and made the parents and the students very happy. And while I was there on campus, I had an opportunity to speak to a bunch of different teachers as well as parents who thanked the commission and expressed their gratitude for providing one more year opportunity for students who've been affected by COVID to catch up with algebra. I wanted to let the commission know that the parents and teachers who were struggling with some students said thank you for the extra 1 year before they attend algebra, be able to apply for Don Sofer Aventura High School.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
great
you so
night.
much.
Thank you.
Dr. McKee.
Thank you. We've had a very busy 2023. You're gonna hear from a couple of our students and our guidance counselor in just a minute. But first of all, I want to thank you all so much as well on behalf of all of our teachers. The extra pay from the referendum, we know how difficult it was to make that happen, and what a sacrifice it was, and they really appreciate it. It's just another statement that you all make so powerfully that we truly value our teachers, which reflects on how much you care about our students, because ultimately they're the ones who benefit most. So thank you for that. We've been inspected more than ever this last couple of weeks. We had the health department out. We had the safety inspector for the Department of Education. We had our curriculum inspected top to bottom, just got the final results on that. And then for exceptional students as well. And all those inspections came out well. The only one that was a little questionable, they did the health inspection at the end of the day, and our night crew is the one that tidies everything up. So there are a few, things on the ground or whatever, but everything else was without any report at all, without any problems. So to get a perfect report on curriculum, especially with exceptional student education, we're really proud of our staff for that. As far as events, we've had some exciting events. First of all, our winter sports just concluded. We had our first senior nights, which is really wonderful to celebrate the seniors and the work they've done during their 4 years in sports. Soccer had victory senior night. Both teams, boys and girls, the boys had winning season. Basketball was not victorious on senior night for boys or girls, but also had winning seasons and just a ton of spirit. So that's been an exciting time for us. It was the first time we've had a girls basketball team. And again, they won. They actually defeated another team on their senior night, which was a huge victory for them after having lost them earlier in the season. So maybe our most improved team ever, but it was really exciting to see them out and competing. An event that I think was the most impactful, and we've done it twice. I'd say the two most impactful events in our school's history were the presentations at the ATJC. This year, we had Stella and Gail Sonnenschein, and you all were there for it. We thank you so much for your support and helping to make that happen. Chief, your officers were amazing from start to finish, just helping us feel safe on the walk and guiding us along the way. Always the case. Every day you make us feel safe. So we appreciate that. But that was so powerful. The presentation and the conversations that occurred afterwards. And again, just to see all of you there supporting such an awesome event was wonderful. So that happened on a Thursday. On the following Monday, we had the Israeli Lone Soldier contingency sponsored by the Faith family come and present. So every one of our students was able to hear from one or more presenters who were actually Israeli lone soldiers. And that was so impactful as far as all the things happening in the world, to hear from someone who has that inside understanding, inside experience with some of these major historical events emanating from conflict in the Middle East and how it's being managed, and just super powerful to, again, have history come to life for our students. So it's been an exciting month in that regard. A robotics team had their startup and their first competition last weekend, not quite as high performing as the team from ACES, but hopefully some of those stars will make their way to Don Sofer High and they'll help us. But they made it to the competitive knockout round with their robot, and they got 15th place our top team got 15th out of 35 teams, and the other was 25th out of 35. So we're making headway there in the high school division, and we're excited to see that. The students are passionate about it, 2-3 hours a day, 2-3 days a week after school, and in addition to homework and everything else. So it's just great to see that passion come to life. Our seniors have, and this is our pioneer senior class, so we're really excited to see them blossom and have these great opportunities with scholarships and college acceptances. And one of the premier recognition events will be the naming of the Silver Knight winners for the county, Silver Knight Award winners for Dade County. And 2 of our nominees are here, and we're going to hear from them. They'll be introduced by Ms. Weinberg. Come on up, Ms. Weinberg. She's our new guidance counselor, new to us, and approximately a year ago. It was that very special day you joined our staff, but she brings so much joy to our campus. She has the gift of laughter and joy and amazing compassion. So you've made such a difference in just bringing people up, making them happy, and guiding them. So we appreciate that. And please tell us about our Silver Knight nominees.
Which way to face? I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Francie Weinberg. I'm half of the school counseling duo at Don Sofer. I want to start by thanking all of you, Mayor Weinberg, former Mayor Weissman, and the commission for your continuous support. It really is so clear in the school, and you'll hear from our students what an investment in education and love brings to a school. So thank you all, first and foremost. So along with our first graduating class of seniors, we have our first class of Miami Herald Silver Knight nominees, which is very exciting. So the Miami Herald Silver Knight Awards program recognizes outstanding seniors who have not only maintained good grades, but have also unselfishly applied their special knowledge and talents to contribute significant service to their school and communities. Silver Knight is in its 65th year of awarding exceptional high school seniors in Broward and Dade counties in 15 categories. So in our first class of Miami Herald Silver Knight nominees, we have 7 seniors representing 7 different categories. These 7 seniors have worked tirelessly throughout their 4 years as Barracudas, and they're representing art, athletics, English, general scholarship, journalism, science, and social science. The application process is not easy. It begins in November and it goes for, it takes about 3 months. They begin their application process about 10 minutes after they finish their college application process. So it's a lot all at once. And they work pretty tirelessly throughout the 3 months. Then they also have to supply 12 supporting documents. They have to meet with a panel of 3 judges. So it's a really intense process. It's a lot of work. And the 2 seniors we have here are really incredible. I'm humbled and honored to be able to support you throughout your Silver Knight application process and to introduce all of you to our art nominee, Jade Stein, and our English nominee, Orly Walkneen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jade Stein, and I'm a senior at Don Sofer Aventura High School. Since the 7th grade, I've looked forward to this moment, working diligently on my service project to become a Silver Knight nominee as a senior. My service project, Cape for Courage, is in the arts category. Fashion design has always been my favorite escape, whether I'm happy, sad, or just need to get out of a funk. And I wanted to share this with others. As an art therapy initiative, I created Capes for Courage through designing plain superhero capes for kids to design and create their own invincible alter ego for treatments around the house or whenever they need a totem for courage. Capes for Courage has visited the Ronald McDonald House, JAFCO, Lotus House, Children's Bereavement, and Kids in Distress, helping around 1,000 families over the years. Capes for Courage is my proudest accomplishment because of the little moments. Texts from kids in capes months after I visited them, year-long relationships, and frowns turn to smiles. With this project, I've won the Harvard Book Award, the Prudential Spirit of Community Honorable Mention, and I'm a Coca-Cola Scholarship Program semifinalist. I'm most excited, however, to continue the Silver Knight process at DSAHS. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Orly Walkneen. I'm here representing the English category for the Miami Herald Silver Knight. Over the past 5 years, anti-Semitic incidents have increased by 94% in K-12 schools all across the country. Being a part of the first graduating class of Don Sofer Aventura High School allowed me to recognize how crucial it is to provide a safe space for Jewish students to talk about their identity, culture, and traditions. I wanted to fill that gap, and which is why I became the president and founder of the first ever Jewish Student Union at my school. I wanted to expand my community outreach, which is when I became in contact with JAFCO, Jewish Adoption Family Care Options. And through JSU, we raised over $1,000 worth of toys, clothes, and back to school items. And so for me, Judaism gives me a community. It gives me a family at home, in Aventura, and at my school. Working with the vulnerable population of children at JAFCO was a humbling experience for all of us because we were able to see how big of an impact giving even just the smallest part of us made in these children's lives. I'm grateful to have had an opportunity to leave a legacy at Don Sofer and to be a part of a community that encourages students to be proud of their identities. Being recognized as a Silver Knight nominee gives me an opportunity to help other students find the space to celebrate their unique identities. That being said, I'm very thankful for this opportunity and excited to continue the Silver Knight process at Don Sofer Aventura High School. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nothing against you, Dr. McKee, but when we hear from remarkable students, it's just so wonderful and inspiring. And many of us who worked on, and including former Mayor Weissman, we dreamed about having a high school in Aventura. And then to see that it's turning out this kind of student is just so wonderful. I mean, I can't really put it in words, but imagine we'll have our first graduating class this year. It's just incredible. And I applaud staff and students. Yes, Commissioner Cruz.
I just want to say thank you. I can't tell you how much, how impressed we are, particularly starting a Jewish student union, I guess you call it. I think at this time, we have such growing anti-Semitism, not only here in Florida, but around the country and around the world. We need to stand up as not only proud Jews, but anybody of goodwill should stand up and put down this scourge that keeps coming up. So I thank you for doing that. And we are going to have a resolution, actually a ordinance that's coming up where our city is going to be adopting the IRA, definition of anti-Semitism, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. So I commend you for what you're doing and for your leadership. We need more leaders like you to understand that what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. Hatred of all kind, whether it's against Jews, against African Americans, against gay people, against any time, is unacceptable in our city, and it should be unacceptable anywhere else in the country and the world. So thank you.
Commissioner Freeland. Don't push that button if you don't want to talk.
Okay, I just wanted to wish the high school seniors congratulations on making it this far. And I am sure unless you have decided and committed to a university, this is one of the hardest years of your life. Stress and things that you didn't expect you were going to have, and a mental idea that you're leaving your family eventually. So I want to wish you good luck and good luck to your families wherever you go.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Anyone need to remove an item? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Stern, and I need a second. Commissioner Bloom. Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Stern?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel?
Yes.
And Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
If you want to just mention items B, D, and E, and when you go through these consent agendas, the public doesn't necessarily know what we're approving because it's just it's a slate. But I would not to pull them out, to just to let them know what we just voted on, because there's a couple items that I think people should know what we're doing. I would say B, D, and E. If you want to just mention it real quick.
B, D, and E. You can go ahead.
Yeah, just, I think everyone should know that we're upgrading the police department with a breaching tool, getting an Explorer van, and we're also what do they pull you? Sorry. Oh, the 911 wall. Yeah, upgrading the 911 wall to a state-of-the-art video screen that'll be outdated in 2 years, right, Mike?
Thank you. Item 6. Commissioner Marks.
I think also I'd like to add item C to the list of just mentioning because we're very pleased that our mayor, our former mayor, will be serving on a very important committee for the Police Pension Board. So I think we should also mention that. And I agree with you that some of these items, really, it would be nice just to quickly recap at the end because, at the end of this motion, because really there are things that people should know about.
Yeah, and I apologize. I should have pulled one with the mayor. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that.
I'm sure you just skipped over it. You would have done another, I think.
Okay, item 6, we're on zoning hearings, quasi judicial resolution. The clerk, would you read that?
Did you want the city attorney to review the procedures for the quasi?
Sure. City attorney.
Well, I mean, you've already heard this, but you heard it as the LPA, so now I have to read it as sitting as the commission. Please be advised that the following item on the commission's agenda is quasi judicial in nature. If you wish to object or comment upon the item, please inform the mayor when public comments are requested. An opportunity for persons to speak on the item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on the item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you refuse either to be cross-examined or be sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the commission to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak to the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. The quasi-judicial procedures, Mayor.
Thank you. You need to swear in anyone that's.
Yes, sir, I do. If you're planning on speaking on this item, item 6, I need you to be sworn in at this time. Please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve? Commissioner Bloom, and a second, Commissioner Cruz. Do you want to review the item, please?
Certainly.
The short version, since we've heard it.
Certainly, yes. First, like to bring forward the results of the LPA meeting and the presentation from the LPA meeting into the record. Typically, when you have a LPA and then a city commission, you have time to adjust and let the city commission know what the LPA did. And you would be acting on a motion with the condition already involved. So I know you've brought it to that point, but just to keep the record clear, the LPA recommended approval of this item with a condition that was discussed with the applicant and other presenters at the LPA meeting. And I would bring that condition into the record as well, and would be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I believe, Mr. City Attorney, they could just approve the motion with the condition that the LPA recommended.
That's correct.
Any comment from the commission? Any comment from the applicant? Any comment from the public? Okay, let's close the item and have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern, Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 7, ordinances. We're on first reading. Would you read the ordinance, Madam Clerk?
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 1, General Provisions of the City of Aventura Code of Ordinances to create Section 1-20, Adoption of IHRA Definition, Consideration of Anti-Semitism and Hate Crimes and Enforcing Laws to further demonstrate the city's commitment to combat anti-Semitism and directing the police department to consider acts of anti-Semitism and the evaluation of evidence in enforcing hate crime laws, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Cruz. I haven't asked for a motion yet, but this is your work, so would you like to make the motion?
Yes, please. I'd
Moved
like
by
to make the motion.
Commissioner Cruz, and I need a second. Commissioner Bloom. Mr. Manager, you want to review this?
Mayor, normally I would be happy to do this, but I think I will throw this one to the sponsor, Commissioner Cruz, to explain.
Good move.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. So this is going to be a first reading of what we're trying to pass here as was read to combat anti-Semitism, which is a growing scourge, which we just discussed with a young lady representing Aventura, Don Sofra Aventura High School. It's the IRA, which is the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. It's recognized around the country and around the world as the way to really define anti-Semitism and to fight back against it. I'll discuss it more when we pass it the second time, as it's being proposed as an ordinance. But that's basically what it is to help us combat any form of anti-Semitism.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission? I see none. Commissioner Bloom.
I just wanted to commend Commissioner Cruz for bringing this to the city. It is something that's needed, I think, nationally, but you start with the cities and then it expands from there. So I just really wanted to thank Commissioner Cruz for bringing this to the city of Aventura.
Thank you. And any members of the public want to comment on this? Seeing none, let us close the item and have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
7B, another ordinance, first reading, please, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Section 31-144 Business Zoning Districts of the city's land development regulations to include restaurant, cafe, or coffee house with a drive-through as a conditional use in the Community Business B2 District, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve? Commissioner Friedland, and can I have a second? Commissioner, Vice Mayor Joel. Kevin.
Sir, this was previously presented to the LPA with LPA recommendation of approval. Happy to answer any questions. Bring forward my presentation and discussion from that meeting to this meeting's record.
Any commission questions? Any member of the public have a comment? Okay, let's close it. And let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to C, please.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Section 31-233 Architectural Design Standards of the City of Aventura Code of Ordinances to adopt a primary color palette applicable to the exterior surfaces of any multifamily, townhouse, or non-residential building, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve? Commissioner, Vice Mayor Joel, and a second, Commissioner Cruz. Kevin?
It's getting repetitive. Again, this was presented to the LPA earlier this evening with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions, bring forward my presentation and the record from the previous meeting to this discussion. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? Any comments from the public? If not, let's close it. Seeing none. Push your button. Commissioner Freeland.
Want to say thank you to Kevin Klopp for all of his work and effort on this, even when we sent him back. And I think it will be an improvement and in the best interest of the city for the long term to come. Thank you.
Commissioner Freeland was instrumental in this. Let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz, Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to D.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Article 1 of Chapter 14, Buildings and Building Regulations of the City of Aventura Code of Ordinances by creating Code Section 14-3, Annual Certification of Structural Maintenance, and amending Article 2 of Chapter 14 of the City Code by creating Code Section 14-32, Painting and/or waterproofing of exterior building surfaces required, providing for penalty, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
I need a motion. I see Commissioner Stern. And a second. Commissioner Bloom. Kevin, last time.
Last time, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one is new for you this evening. You may notice in the packet that it was Chapter 14 that this amends, so it is not the land development regulations. So this item did not have to go to the LPA prior to your hearing it, but is still something that the Community Development Department deals with. And for the members of the audience that may not have heard this coming through the process at workshop, these two requirements in this ordinance stem from the very sad incident of the collapse of the tower in Surfside. There was a grand jury investigation into that issue and recommendations that came forward from what happened there. And these are two recommendations that we saw and thought were very prudent. Painting and waterproofing is something that maintains the structural integrity of concrete, prevents saltwater intrusion, which then degrades the structural integrity of a building. So requiring that buildings be repainted, waterproofed at least every 10 years was one of the recommendations that you have seen fit to bring forward for consideration tonight. And the other being an annual review by those building managers, owners, et cetera, of the structural components of their building. Just that they look at it, they maintain it properly, that they're aware of what's going on an annual basis and not wait 10 years to look at something and then realize there was a problem that they now have to spend a lot more money to fix rather than a little bit of money to maintain on an annual basis. So we've discussed this at workshop. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we believe this is an important thing that will be beneficial to our structures in the long term.
Thank you. Any questions for Kevin from the commission? Any comments from any members of the public on this? Okay, let's close it for public comment and let's take a vote.
Commissioner Stern,
I'm sorry. 1 second. Commissioner Marks.
I just want to make a comment in general to the commission and to the audience. And that is that condos everywhere in South Florida are facing incredible financial impact. They're feeling the impact of everything that happened because for years, many condo boards chose not to do the proper repairs. And so now having to do these repairs and having left things go way too long, the prices of everything compounded with the supply chain and COVID and all of those things. I don't know of any building that isn't facing some kind of distress, even if they're in good financial shape. So I think there's going to be a burden on your department no matter what. The other thing, again, just to compound this whole thing, anyone who is facing an insurance renewal this year in their building, probably the prices have doubled at this point for insurance. So you're heading way, way up in many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's going to be something at some point that's going to come back to the city in one way or another, because the numbers are just getting out of hand in terms of the cost for living in your condo right now.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 8, we're on ordinance's second reading. Please read the ordinance, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 4 Finance, Division 3 Purchasing of the City of Aventura Code of Ordinances to provide for enhanced purchasing authority and revise exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, I need a motion to approve. Vice Mayor Joel, and I need a second, Commissioner Cruz. Mr. Manager, would you like to review this item, please?
Sure, Mayor. Sure, Mayor. And this is a second reading. Currently, it's $2,500 or more. We need 3 competitive bids. This ordinance would allow that to be increased, the bidding threshold to $5,000, which will greatly help our purchasing department, as most things fall between $2,500 and $5,000, and it will make us a lot more efficient.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by any commissioners? I see none. Any comment by members of the public? I see none. So I will close it and ask for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolutions, there are none this evening. Reports, any commissioners or the city attorney or the clerk or the city manager, anyone have any reports? Anything you'd like to tell us? Okay, I'll just let you know that, remember, we agreed, the commission agreed that we would become involved with get involved after my anti-Semitism conference. We would get involved with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So subsequent to that already, they reached out, and I have now executed a resolution in light of the anti-Semitism situation. Dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of mayors are signing on to a resolution recognizing the fact that the month of May is Jewish American Heritage Month in our nation. And so we're already signed on, the city of Aventura, and we're very close alphabetically to the top. So I appreciate your assistance on that. Any other reports? Okay, then we'll move on to public comment. Mr. City Attorney, will you review the process?
Sure. So thank you, Mayor. This is an opportunity for the public to speak up to 3 minutes on matters within the jurisdiction of the city commission and the city that have otherwise not been addressed on agenda items previously decided. And it's not a time for the commission to engage the public. It's just to allow them to speak for 3 minutes. Mayor, those are my comments.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? This, as you heard, state your name and address.
Marcel Fischler, 3370 Northeast 190th Street. I wanted to comment on the proposed pickleball park. Changing the community garden park to a pickleball court, a pickleball center seems very offensive to me. It's a wonderful, quiet park. I was told by the mayor that there's never anyone there, but I was there 2 Saturdays ago. There were 20 people there. I walk there almost every day. Lots of other people in the neighborhood also walk there. It's beautiful. The community garden is wonderful to look at the things that people are planting. And to turn that into a bunch of pickleball courts and 2 more tennis courts and have night lights, it's like, what are we doing to Aventura? You know, we don't want to pave the parking lot. We're not putting up paradise by putting up pickleball courts. Now, where I live, we've turned 1 tennis court into 2 pickleball courts. I understand other buildings have done the same. And I think that, you know, if you really need to do this, and I know pickleball is popular, you need to find another spot to do it. It's also going to cause a traffic problem on 190th Street, because if you've got all these people coming in cars to play pickleball every hour, and you've got 6 courts and 2 tennis courts, you have a potential 32 cars coming in. It's practically at the gate to Hidden Bay and Aventura Marina, and it's going to cause a backup. And it's really going to be, it's not right on many levels. And I just would like, I don't know if it was decided definitively yet, but I would like another area, another spot to be considered rather than taking away a beautiful community garden. That's a lovely little pocket park, a place to read, a place to contemplate. And it's just different than any other spot. If you go across the street to Founder's Park, it's a totally different atmosphere. It's fun, it's lovely. I love Founder's Park, but the community garden park serves a different purpose, and I don't think it needs to be pickleball. And I am the vice president of the board for Hidden Bay, and I know I speak for some other board members and lots of residents who feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come up after them. State your name and address, please.
Stacy Levy, I'm an Aventura resident, 1051 Northeast 93rd Street, Miami Shores.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry too.
Cindy Orlinsky, 20051 Northeast 37th Court, Aventura 33180.
You want to talk about the name? Okay, so we're here. It's that time of year again. We're having our 5th annual Dirty Socks 5K Run and Walkathon, which benefits Ellie's Army Foundation. Just a little bit of background. I'm Stacy Levy, and I'm the founder and CEO of the foundation. It's named for my daughter Ellie, who had cystic fibrosis and passed away in 2014. We help families of children and young adults that have life-threatening illnesses. We help their families financially. Primarily, we also offer them support, and we like to think that we give them hope in situations that are really dire. So Cindy's going to tell you about the event. All have flyers. But before she does, I just want to thank you all for your ongoing support. You know, it really is making a difference in the success of our event. The police have been amazing, and you know, you've been very supportive, and we really appreciate it.
So we can't believe it's the 5th year. Pretty amazing. And we're super excited to bring out Aventura one more time. It's going to be March 5th at the Aventura Library. We're going to start. The race will start at 8. We'll be there very early, but most people come around 7:15, 7:30. We have a 5K timed run that we get a lot of pros out for, training for different races in the area. And we also have a walkathon, which includes all families, kids, dogs. We get everybody coming out and joining and walking. So we, with the help of the police, go around the circle, come back to the library where there are food trucks and entertainment, Zumba. We have Duncan Robinson from the Miami Heat, who is our ambassador, who came last year. We're hoping he'll be there this year. It looks like he will. We have Bernie from the Heat and a lot of celebrities and television stations going to be there covering everything. And we thank you guys. Most of you have been there. We thank you for all your support all the years. And we hope to see you all there this year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. great, wonderful event.
My name is Jennifer Hoberman. I'm also a member of the Hidden Bay Community, 3370 Northeast 190th Street. Marcel forgot to mention a few other things that we wanted to bring to your attention. I'll let her start.
sorry.
and I'll
I
continue.
did do
No, no, excuse
can
me,
I do
sorry.
that or not?
You already spoke.
Oh,
You
okay.
get 3 minutes. You can say whatever she wants you to say, but we have a process here that we have to follow, okay? Thank you.
So Marcel went through the records of the city of Aventura, looked for an opportunity that the public would have had to have made comments about the pickleball courts and could not find any opportunity for public to have commented on this approval. We are greatly concerned as members of the community. We are adjacent to this property. I, as a resident, never received a notice. I'm a real estate attorney. I'm also worked in real estate development. I feel that the use of a waterfront park to put up 8 to 10 foot fencing for pickleball courts is just an abomination, not what we call highest and best use. It's a beautiful view corridor. And I feel that there's so many other opportunities and places that a pickleball court with high wire fencing would be more appropriate than on a road into a beautiful community. It just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. There are many members of our community in the Aventura Marina community. Had we had the opportunity to have notice, we could come out in force and let you know how we all feel. We are, we understand pickleball is important to everybody. It's the newest and latest and greatest. It might not be the latest and greatest in 5 years. And we feel that, yes, if the community wants to provide more athletic tennis or courts, we're in favor of that. The location is the issue for us. We just feel that we want to have the opportunity to be heard and to speak to our elected officials and let you know how this community of many thousand residents will be adversely affected by the rulings to take a beautiful community park and turn it into a wire fence nightmare. And that's how we feel. We'd like to know how we can get to the commission to speak to people to see if we can have you look at another parcel to bring these courts to. How can we help our communities move forward? The buildings of Aventura Marina and Hidden Bay. There are other people that would have come tonight, and we can have them come at another meeting to express their concerns. So we'd like to engage with you and see what we can do to make a change and bring these to another place, but not lose what we consider an absolutely beautiful gem of a park that is used by many, 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 many members of our community, and none, as our mayor had once told us, that nobody uses it. We use it, many people we know use it, and we'd like to continue to use it and not see pickleball courts with 8 to 10 foot fencing affecting us adversely as members of the Aventura community.
Thank you. And I would urge you can get in touch with the manager at any time to, he'll resolve your questions about legal notice. He'll point you to whatever notice was an opportunity to be heard. If you're having trouble locating that, please, Ron, you'll help them out. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll close public comment. Sorry? Oh, sure. Come up. Name and address.
My name is Afra Schlesinger. I reside at 3370 Northeast 190th Street, the community known as Hidden Bay. I just want to support my neighbors in their opposition to the pickleball. I spent a lot of time, I'm retired. I enjoy going there on a daily basis, parking the car easily, sitting there and reading a book or just walking around the circle and watching the people come in and tend to their vegetable garden, which has really flourished. It really is a very peaceful piece of property. It's small enough to give us that pleasure, and I think it would be too small to have pickleball courts, tennis courts, and lots of cars coming in on a daily basis throughout the day. The park was originally also open for dogs, and that privilege was taken away from all the dog owners who not only live in Hidden Bay, but live all throughout the surrounding area. So I'm sure if that opportunity was opened up again, that there would be very respectful dog owners enjoying the opportunity to have their dogs there, walk there and be there with them, and be respectful to the other people who do not have dogs and find themselves there. There are a lot of kids there during the week, especially during the early evening hours when their parents come home from school and bring them over to the park to play in. And I really think you need to reconsider that piece of property for athletic purposes, especially since we have Founders Park across the street with tennis courts. There are various parks. We don't have any one big major park in Aventura, but there are parks all along Miami Gardens Drive where they're big, that accommodations or space can be made available. Pickleball is now becoming popular. I'm sure 6 months from now, there'll be another activity that's going to become just as popular. So please grant us our wishes and give us that little bit of space to enjoy. We pay our taxes and we appreciate the little bit of accommodations we have where we could walk out of our homes and spend some time in the outdoors. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to other business. We added a motion to that. If the clerk could read that.
A motion to grant a waiver enabling Charter Schools USA to pay travel-related expenses incurred by mayor to tour other school sites located in Florida operated by Charter Schools USA.
Okay, I need a motion to approve. Commissioner Friedland, and I need a second. Commissioner Bloom. I guess I can explain this one, Manager. As you know, I like to do my own investigations, so that's why I rode the circulator buses for 4 months and took pictures every day of the Founders Park South every single day for months to count how many people were there. I counted the hard hats twice a week when the library was being built. So now I want our schools to be improved. So I asked Charter Schools USA to show me their best schools. I want to see what they could do. If they build them, they manage them, what's the ceiling on how good of a job they can do? So they're taking me to the Tampa area for 2 days of looking at their best schools. Fortunately, I asked the city attorney, and it turns out that because they're a vendor, I need commission permission to allow them to fund it. Obviously, I would never use taxpayer dollars. So either I'm going to pay out of my pocket to go look at the schools, or they're going to pay to go look at the schools. So a yes vote means, yes, it's okay for them to pay. A no vote means I'm paying for it. So that's basically all it is. And if there's any discussion, any questions, let's have it. Anyone? No comments. Oh, Dr. Marks.
I understand your interest in wanting to see schools, and that's very admirable because I think the more you see and the more you learn, the more you can make educated decisions. And I think not only you, Mayor, but there may be others who also should embark on that same learning experience because it's a huge responsibility to maintain schools. My only question comes from something that happened a while back when this commission was not the seated commission. And there was a conversation about I think it's in our charter, where you cannot accept, when you're campaigning, you cannot accept donations from a vendor. Is
Campaign contributions, correct.
Okay, campaign, where is that located?
I don't have it off the top of my
Okay,
head.
well,
but it's in the
somewhere,
co-
it's
It's in the
somewhere.
code.
And you're prohibited from accepting campaign donations. And I'm assuming there was a reason for that.
Right. I wasn't here at the time, but generally those kind of rules, there's a sense that shouldn't accept contributions from parties who are entering into contracts with city government, that there's some perceived maybe quid pro quo. So some cities, not many, like Aventura said, if you're going to do business with our city, you're not going to make campaign contributions to people who are running for office.
And I did bring that up at the time because, and I felt comfortable bringing it up because I would not be running for office, but it seemed as if when I did the research, most cities allow you to take campaign contributions from vendors. It's more on the rare side in terms of what we're doing here. So I'm looking at this the same way. And my question is, and when you talk about the use of taxpayer dollars to assist a commission in learning and being informed about something that's very important. We spend a lot of money with our schools. I don't think is at all wasteful, but rather an investment in good learning. So my question is more of a perception. You can't accept a campaign contribution, let's say from charter schools, but you can allow them to pay you to go to see the schools. That's the hand. The other hand is there are other charter school companies, there are public schools, there are wonderful private schools that also do amazing jobs. And to get the full picture, one needs, I think, a wider picture than just charter schools. So I'm almost suggesting that the scope needs to be broadened, but in the meantime, if this is where you want to start, I don't see anything wrong with the city paying for this educational opportunity, because how can you make a good decision and a sound decision? Whereas if it's paid for by Charter Schools USA, unless we change the other part of it, which is this campaign thing, it kind of looks as if it could be, it could be perceived incorrectly. So I would just like to put that on the table for conversation. I think the fact that you want to educate yourself is great, and I hope more people take advantage of that. Thank you.
Robert, did you want to say something?
If I can just offer some background on this, I mean, this is sort of in my wheelhouse, if you will. When I was with the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics and Public Trust, we, and still do, the commission enforces the County Code of Ethics Ordinance. This provision was an amendment to the County Code of Ordinances when there was a trip that was taken by a county manager overseas, paid for by a county vendor. And the county did not prohibit vendors from paying for travel expenses of elected officials or high-level administrators, actually for anyone who worked for the county. And the press made a big deal about it. And the county commission said, we're going to prohibit, vendors, contractors, service providers, bidders, proposers from paying travel expenses for government officials or employees. The perception is such that it should not be allowed. However, there are circumstances where it might be acceptable, and those acceptable circumstances are addressed by the city commission in the form of a request for a waiver by the public official who wishes to have the vendor pay for the travel or travel-related expenses. Inherent in all this is there's a public interest associated with it. I would not recommend that you consider approving a waiver if there's no public interest. But that's where this is on the table in front of you, because the only way the travel expenses can be covered by the vendor is for the city commission to approve the waiver prior to the travel. That's just required by the county code, and the county code applies to issues in Aventura as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Friedland.
So understanding that, I appreciate your explaining what the county did, the higher authority, the higher venue. We are not passing this for Mayor Weinberg or anybody else to travel to do like an RFP and look at other charter schools like to compare them to different brands. We are already under contract with Charter Schools USA. So he's just going to look and see what we can do for the best interest of our students here. I think there is a public interest here. I think it would be unfathomable for us to expect him to pay out of pocket for his own travel to do something like this for the best interest of the students in the city. Again, if he was looking to compare one charter school company from another, that would be a different situation that I think that this vendor would be inappropriate to take him along to see. But we are under contract, I think a long-term contract with Charter Schools USA. And he is just going to hopefully bring back the most knowledge and the benefits for our schools and our students. And I would think that it's the right thing to do, whether it expands to additional commissioners or the city manager or the principals is a conversation for another day, because none of us have been asked by the owner, I believe, of Charter Schools USA to visit the other schools, my knowledge. So they've taken the head of the Aventura City Commission, which is the mayor, and asked him to come and see the schools. And I think that we have to look at best interest. I don't think this is a schmoozing, partying scenario, but that would be my position on this.
Let me say that I agree that to the extent that we're all part of the governing board of the schools, yes, I think it would be helpful for each of us to go look at, see what their best schools are, see what can be improved in our schools. And everyone, to the extent they have the time, should do the same thing that I'm doing. Not together, because that would be bad and the attorney would tell us not to. None of us should be going with me, but you should make your own arrangements and do it the way I'm doing it. Come before us and then ask if exactly what I'm asking. I think we should all do it. Knowledge is power. I think that's fantastic. I'm doing it. I encourage you all to do it. I'm sure they would do the same for everyone. But if the choice is they pay or I pay or the taxpayer pays, I'd rather have them pay. I'm not going to put it on the taxpayer if I don't have to. So I've already eliminated that one. So it's either I'm paying or they're paying. So if you want me to pay, just vote no. But I don't see a problem with them paying for me to see what they're capable of doing. To me, that's fine. To me, it's not related to not accepting a campaign contribution. I see it as apples and oranges. But anyway, I'm done. If there's any other discussion. Sure.
So you make a good point about not going as a group because that creates other issues. But I don't know why there can't be, is there going to be a motion made here? Or is this just in a?
There already was a motion. There's going to
Already
be a
was.
vote as soon as we're
Okay,
done.
so I don't see why that motion can't include, to include others who may want to contact charter schools and go at a different time or whatever, because this way we're allowing that opportunity. It's a learning experience for anyone who wants to, broaden their understanding of.
Let's ask the attorney, can we do a blanket waiver so that?
You cannot. You can have two separate motions. You would be a motion to approve this particular waiver, and then you can make a motion based on what Dr. March just said. But you have to grant if you're going to allow the expenditure, it has to be in a standalone motion. Granting the waiver.
But just so I understand, then if we did Dr. Mark's motion also, in the future, would a commissioner have
You'd
to?
still have to bring it up at the time.
So it doesn't accomplish
It
anything?
really doesn't accomplish
Okay.
anything.
So any other conversation? Any public comment? Yes. State your name, please, at the microphone. Thank you. Address.
47 Northeast, First Davidson, 3047 Northeast, 183rd Street. Couldn't you set up a fund where they made a donation, where then you allocated so that even if kids wanted to get involved with this, they could go? And they could raise money from the schools and say, hey, we want to see what other schools are doing?
I think, well, that's a completely separate conversation. I serve as the chairman of the governing board of the school. I'm not going on a trip with school children for this purpose. That can be a completely separate conversation, but
It's just if you're trying to educate everybody on what other schools are doing and how to better the schools, some of the seniors or some of the other kids may want to get involved in something like this where they could raise their own funds, put it into this fund, and then everybody could, you as a board could allocate that money for those trips.
Sure, but that would be a separate thing. Then you have the chaperones and all that. It's a completely separate trip. That's not the purpose of this trip, but point well taken. Anybody else? If not, can we have a roll call vote, please? I'll close it for public comment.
Commissioner Friedland,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joel,
Yes.
and Mayor Weinberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, it's 8:03 and I think we have no other business. So I'm going to ask for the final motion of the night, which is a motion to adjourn. Vice Mayor Joel, and a second. Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor, I need to hear it. Say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.